The Galactic Council survey ship had been mapping the outer spiral arm for 3 standard cycles when they detected unusual electromagnetic signatures coming from a small blue planet. Captain Vexthara, a seasoned diplomat whose scales had turned silver from decades of service, ordered the crew to investigate. They'd made first contact with 17 species before. This would be number 18. The planet was beautiful. Swirling white clouds over blue oceans. Green landmasses. All the indicators of complex life. The initial scans showed technology, cities, and billions of life forms. Perfect conditions for peaceful introduction. Engineer Jake Miller was in his apartment when the doorbell chimed. He'd volunteered for the First Contact program 6 months ago, mostly as a joke. Never thought aliens would actually show up. But there they were on his security screen, a whole delegation of them, looking nervous and official in their ceremonial robes. Jake buzzed them in, wiping his hands on his jeans. He'd been in the middle of meal prep. Ground beef sitting on the cutting board, tomatoes sliced, cheese ready to go. Just a regular Tuesday lunch. The aliens filed into his kitchen area, their translator devices humming softly. Captain Vexthara began her prepared speech about peaceful cooperation and mutual understanding. Standard first contact stuff, very formal, very diplomatic. Then Officer Shakran stopped mid-step. His nostrils flared. His eyes went wide. Every scale on his body stood up like he'd been hit with electricity. Blood. He smelled blood. Fresh blood. Lots of it. Shakran came from a predator species, but they'd evolved past hunting thousands of years ago. The smell of fresh kill triggered something primal in him, something buried deep in his genetic memory. Danger. Death. Something had been killed here recently. He spun toward Jake, his hand moving instinctively toward his sidearm. The other guards reacted instantly, reading their officer's body language. Weapons appeared. Targeting systems activated. The friendly diplomatic mission turned into a combat situation in 3 seconds flat. Jake looked up from his cutting board, holding a chef's knife, his hands stained red from the raw meat. He blinked at the suddenly armed aliens pointing various weapons at him. For a moment, nobody moved. The aliens were tense, ready for violence. Jake was just confused, knife in one hand, a bowl of ground beef in the other. Then Jake glanced down at his counter. At the red liquid pooling around the meat. At the knife in his hand. He looked back at the terrified aliens and suddenly understood. A slow smile spread across his face. Not a threatening smile, just amused. Like someone who'd just realized a silly misunderstanding. "Oh man," Jake said, setting down the knife carefully and holding up both hands. "Relax guys. Seriously. It's only my lunch. I'm making burgers." The translator devices worked overtime, converting his words into dozens of languages simultaneously. But the meaning didn't seem to help. If anything, the aliens looked more confused. Captain Vexthara's tail twitched nervously. "Your lunch?" "Yeah," Jake said, pointing at the meat. "Ground beef. From a cow." "Well, not directly from a cow, I bought it at the store, but yeah. Cow meat. For eating." One of the smaller aliens, a fluffy creature named Pix, made a sound like a squeaky toy having a panic attack. "You consume flesh? Deliberately?" Jake picked up the meat again, completely casual about it. "Well, yeah. I mean, not always. Sometimes I do pasta or chicken or fish. But today I felt like burgers. You know, bread, meat, cheese, vegetables. Classic comfort food." He started forming the meat into a patty, his hands working automatically while he talked. The aliens watched in horrified fascination, like they were witnessing something from a nature documentary about apex predators. Officer Shakran slowly lowered his weapon, though his scales hadn't settled down. "You hunt these cows?" "What? No, Jake laughed. "I mean, some people hunt, sure. Deer, elk, that kind of thing. But most of us just buy meat at the grocery store. It's already processed and packaged. Super convenient." The silence that followed was deafening. Jake continued making his burger patties, completely oblivious to the existential crisis he was causing. Captain Vexthara's diplomatic training was legendary. She'd negotiated peace treaties between species that communicated through chemical signals and interpretive dance. She'd mediated territorial disputes involving 17 different concepts of time. She'd handled situations that would make most diplomats retire early. But this? A species that casually consumed other life forms and called it lunch? That went to special buildings designed specifically for purchasing dead animals? that had apparently turned predation into such a normal part of daily life that they didn't even consider it worth mentioning? She had no protocol for this. Jake seasoned the patties with salt and pepper, then looked up at his guests. "You guys hungry? I've got plenty. Can make them well done if the pink part bothers you." 3 aliens fainted simultaneously. The emergency session of the Galactic Council lasted 14 hours. Representatives from 200 species argued, debated, and occasionally panicked about what to do with humanity's membership application. Half wanted to welcome them immediately. The other half wanted to quarantine the entire planet. Agent Krill sat in the back of the chamber, her compound eyes scanning through data on her tablet. She'd been assigned the task nobody wanted. Go to Earth. Study it thoroughly. Figure out if humans were dangerous or just weird. Come back with answers. She wasn't thrilled about it. Agent Krill liked her job specifically because it was safe. She catalogued plants from peaceful garden worlds. She documented the mating dances of harmless herbivores. She did not investigate species that ate meat while smiling. But orders were orders. 3 days later, she landed on Earth with a full scientific kit and enough anxiety medication to sedate a small elephant. Not that she knew what an elephant was yet. She'd learn soon enough, and it wouldn't help her stress levels. The first week was manageable. Krill set up her research station in a nature preserve, far from major cities. She'd study Earth's biosphere first, then work her way up to studying humans directly. Standard procedure. Nice and safe. Day 8 shattered that illusion completely. Krill was collecting soil samples near a stream when she heard rustling in the bushes. She turned, scanning equipment in hand, and froze. A creature emerged from the foliage. 4 legs. Thick fur. Easily twice her size. Massive jaws filled with sharp teeth designed for ripping and tearing. A predator. A big one. And it was looking right at her. Krill's survival instinct screamed at her to run, but her training held her still. Running triggered chase reflexes in predators. She knew this. Stay calm. Move slowly. Back away carefully. The creature moved closer. Krill's hands trembled. This was it. She was going to die on this nightmare planet, eaten by some random apex predator before she even finished her first report. Then she heard a voice. A human voice. Young, female, cheerful. "Cooper. Come here, boy. Drop that stick." A human child, maybe 10 Earth years old, came running through the trees. She wore bright pink clothing and had some kind of electronic device in her hand. The massive predator's entire demeanor changed instantly. Its tail started wagging. It bounded toward the child like an excited puppy. Krill watched in absolute horror as the child grabbed the creature's fur and hugged it. The predator licked her face with obvious affection. The girl laughed. "Good boy, Cooper." "Who's a good boy?" "You are." Agent Krill's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the ground, her breathing rapid and shallow. A human child. Playing with an apex predator. Like it was normal. Like it was safe. The girl noticed her sitting there and waved. "Oh hey. Are you okay? You look scared." "Don't worry about Cooper, he's super friendly. He's a golden retriever. They're basically the nicest dogs ever." Dogs. Krill added that word to her research file with shaking hands. Apparently humans had a whole category of domesticated predators that they kept in their homes. For companionship. For fun. That was day 8. Things got worse. By week 3, Krill had compiled a list that read like a horror novel. Earth had venomous spiders, snakes that could swallow prey whole, bears that weighed half a ton, sharks with rows of replaceable teeth, big cats that hunted in coordinated packs, and poisonous plants everywhere. Everywhere. The weather alone would be enough to classify Earth as hostile. Hurricanes. Tornadoes. Blizzards. Droughts. Floods. Temperatures that ranged from freezing to boiling depending on location and season. Lightning storms that could fry electronics and people with equal efficiency. And the diseases. Oh, the diseases. Krill spent 4 days just cataloging Earth's viruses and bacteria. They evolved constantly, adapting faster than medicine could keep up. Some lay dormant for years before activating. Some jumped between species. Some seemed to exist purely to cause suffering. Any other species would have gone extinct here. The conditions were impossibly hostile. But humans? Humans thrived. Krill watched a human jogger run past her research station one morning. The man was running. For fun. For exercise. In 100-degree heat. While listening to music through small devices in his ears. He waved at her as he passed, not even breathing hard. Persistence hunting. That's what her research called it. Humans evolved to literally run their prey to death. They weren't fast like cheetahs. They were relentless. They could maintain a steady pace for hours, sometimes days, until whatever they were chasing collapsed from exhaustion. Then they'd walk up and finish it off. No other species in the galaxy hunted like that. It was terrifying. It was effective. It was why humans conquered their entire planet. But the really disturbing part came when Krill started studying human culture. She expected a species this dangerous to be violent, aggressive, territorial. Instead she found art, music, literature, philosophy. They had museums dedicated to preserving history. They wrote poetry about sunsets. They created intricate sculptures just because they thought it looked nice. They were apex predators who also stopped to smell flowers. Persistence hunters who spent hours cooking elaborate meals. Survivors of a death world who dedicated their lives to making other people laugh. Krill watched a human woman named Patricia tend her garden one afternoon. Patricia grew tomatoes, peppers, and herbs in neat rows. She talked to her plants while she watered them, encouraging them to grow. A small brown dog napped in the shade nearby. Wind chimes made soft music in the breeze. It was peaceful, domestic, beautiful. Then Patricia went inside and came back out with a plate. Grilled chicken with vegetables. She'd killed an animal, cooked it over fire, and was now eating it while admiring her flowers. The cognitive dissonance made Krill's antennae hurt. After 2 months of research, Krill transmitted her report to the Galactic Council. Her hands shook as she recorded the final summary. Earth is a Class 12 death world. Humanity survived conditions that would exterminate most civilized species. They are omnivorous persistence hunters who domesticated other predators, consumed toxins recreationally, and turned predation into a social activity. They are simultaneously the most dangerous and most gentle species I have ever studied. They should not exist. But they do. And they want to join our council. She paused, looking out her window at the sunset. Patricia was still in her garden, humming softly to herself. I don't know if we're ready for them, Krill added quietly. But I think maybe they're exactly what the galaxy needs. She hit send and hoped she was right. The Galactic Council approved the cultural exchange program after months of debate. 20 alien ambassadors would spend one full cycle living on Earth, experiencing human culture firsthand. In return, 20 humans would visit various alien homeworlds. It seemed like a perfect plan for mutual understanding. Ambassador Quillix volunteered immediately. He was a Rendarian, a species of peaceful herbivores known for their diplomatic skills and open minds. He'd studied 17 different cultures and prided himself on being adaptable. Earth would be no different. He was sure of it. The Johnson family picked him up from the landing site on a warm summer evening. They seemed nice enough. The father, Robert, worked in construction. The mother, Linda, taught at a local school. Their daughter Ashley was 16 and wouldn't stop taking pictures of him with her phone. Normal family. Friendly. Welcoming. Quillix felt confident. He could handle this. That confidence lasted exactly until dinner time. The Johnsons had decided to make their guest feel welcome with a traditional family meal. They set the table with care, lit candles, put out their nice dishes. Linda had spent hours preparing what she called her specialty. She seemed genuinely proud of it. I hope you like steak, Robert said, carrying a large platter from the kitchen. We got the good cuts from the butcher. Prime ribeye. Quillix watched as Robert set down the platter. Large slabs of meat, seared on the outside but still red in the center. Very red. Blood pooled around the edges, mixing with some kind of herb butter. The smell hit him immediately. Iron. Death. Fresh kill. His stomach lurched. Every instinct told him to run. This wasn't food. This was a crime scene. How do you like your steak cooked? Linda asked cheerfully, completely oblivious to his distress. Robert and Ashley like theirs medium rare, but I can make yours more well done if you prefer. Quillix's translator was working perfectly, but the words didn't make sense. Cooked? There were different levels of cooking meat? And people had preferences about how much blood remained? Ashley cut into her steak with enthusiasm. The knife sliced through easily, and more red liquid seeped onto her plate. She took a bite and actually smiled. Mom, this is perfect. So tender. I marinated it overnight, Linda explained, cutting her own piece. The key is getting good quality meat and not overcooking it. You want it to still be juicy inside. Juicy. She called the blood juicy. Quillix excused himself quickly, mumbling something about needing the bathroom. He barely made it before his stomach emptied itself. He spent 10 minutes in there, trying to compose himself, trying to remember his diplomatic training. Cultural sensitivity. Open-mindedness. Respect for different customs. But they were eating corpses. At the dinner table. With their child. Like it was completely normal. When he returned, the family had thoughtfully prepared him a salad. Just vegetables, they assured him. They'd done research on his species' dietary needs. They were trying to be accommodating. Quillix appreciated the gesture. He really did. But he couldn't stop staring at their plates. At the way they casually consumed flesh while discussing their day. Ashley talked about her math test. Robert mentioned a project at work. Linda asked about everyone's plans for the weekend. Normal family dinner conversation. Except they were eating something that used to be alive. The next few days were an exercise in controlled panic. Everywhere Quillix went, there was meat. The grocery stores had entire sections dedicated to it. Beef, pork, chicken, fish, lamb. Different cuts, different preparations. Some of it was still recognizable as body parts. Ribs. Legs. Shoulders. People bought it casually, tossing packages into their carts while checking their shopping lists. Like they were buying vegetables or bread. No ceremony. No reverence for the life that was taken. Just another item to pick up before heading home. The worst part was how normal everyone acted about it. A woman at the store asked him if he tried the new deli counter. The butcher waved and offered samples of smoked sausage. Children walked past holding hot dogs, not even slightly disturbed by what they were eating. Then came the weekend. The Johnsons invited him to something called a neighborhood barbecue. Quillix had learned enough English by then to know that barbecue involved cooking meat outdoors. He tried to politely decline, claiming he wasn't feeling well. Linda wouldn't hear of it. Fresh air would do him good, she insisted. Plus, it was a great opportunity to meet more humans and experience authentic Earth culture. Her enthusiasm was genuine and kind. Quillix didn't have the heart to refuse. He regretted that decision the moment they arrived. The backyard was full of people. At least 40 humans, maybe more, all gathered around multiple fires. The smell was overwhelming. Smoke, charred meat, various spices. Several men stood around a massive metal grill, laughing and drinking while tending to what looked like an entire farm's worth of animals. Ribs. Burgers. Hot dogs. Chicken wings. Sausages. All cooking simultaneously. The men used long metal tools to flip and rotate the meat, discussing cooking times and temperatures with the seriousness of scientists conducting research. You gotta let the ribs rest for 10 minutes after they come off, one man explained to another. That's how you keep them juicy. Children ran around playing, completely unbothered by the carnage happening a few feet away. Someone had set up a volleyball net. Music played from outdoor speakers. People laughed and chatted, drinking cold beverages and snacking on chips. It looked like a celebration. A party. A joyful community gathering. And at the center of it all, multiple species of animals were being systematically cooked and consumed. A large man named Danny approached Quillix with a plate piled high with meat. You gotta try my brisket. Smoked it for 16 hours with hickory wood. It's fall off the bone tender. Quillix stared at the plate. At Danny's proud smile. At the other humans gathering around, eager to share their own culinary creations. I don't eat meat, Quillix managed. Oh man, no worries. Danny said, not offended at all. Linda mentioned that. We got you covered. There's grilled vegetables, pasta salad, corn on the cob, plenty of stuff. Come on, I'll show you. And there was. An entire table dedicated to non-meat options. The humans had actually thought about his dietary needs and made sure he'd have plenty to eat. They were being considerate. Thoughtful. Kind. Quillix loaded a plate with vegetables and found a quiet spot under a tree. He watched the humans interact, trying to understand. They weren't savage. They weren't cruel. They were friendly, generous, community-oriented. Parents kept an eye on children. People shared food freely. Someone helped an elderly neighbor with her plate. But they were doing all of this while participating in what Quillix could only describe as organized predation. They turned killing into a social event. Made it festive. Made it fun. Robert sat down next to him, holding a plate with a massive burger. I know this must be weird for you, he said quietly. Linda told me about your species. Pure herbivores, right? This probably seems barbaric. Quillix appreciated the acknowledgement. It's different from what I'm used to. Robert took a bite of his burger, chewed thoughtfully. For us, it's just normal. It's how we evolved. We're omnivores. Always have been. And somewhere along the way, we turned eating into more than just survival. It became culture. Family traditions. Ways to bring communities together. He gestured at the gathering. This isn't really about the food. It's about the people. The connections. Quillix watched Ashley laughing with her friends. Watched Danny showing off his brisket technique to an impressed audience. Watched Linda helping organize a game for the younger children. They were right. It wasn't really about the meat. The meat was just the excuse. The method. The catalyst for bringing everyone together. I understand, Quillix said slowly. I think. You're predators who evolved empathy. Hunters who built communities. You turned something that should be solitary and violent into something social and joyful. Robert smiled. Never thought about it that way. But yeah. That sounds about right. That night, Quillix filed his report to the Galactic Council. His hands were steady this time. He'd figured something out. Something important. Humans are predators, he wrote. But they're not monsters. They're what happens when an apex species develops compassion. They're dangerous and gentle. Deadly and kind. They shouldn't make sense. But somehow, they do. The ZHK Empire had been the galaxy's dominant predator species for 3,000 years. They were hunters by nature, warriors by choice, and conquerors by reputation. When they heard about humanity through their intelligence networks, they were intrigued. Finally, another species that understood the predator's way. Perhaps even worthy opponents. Or more likely, entertaining prey. Commander Drakthar studied the reports from his command chair. These humans came from a death world, consumed other species for pleasure, and had somehow survived conditions that would kill most civilized races. Impressive, certainly. But the ZHK had conquered 40 systems. They'd perfected the art of warfare over millennia. These newcomers were primitives playing at being dangerous. He decided to teach them a lesson. A quick strike at their outer colonies. Nothing too destructive. Just enough to show them their place in the galactic hierarchy. The ZHK way was simple. Hit hard, hit fast, disappear before the enemy could respond. Ambush predators, like their ancestors who hunted in the deep jungles of their homeworld. 3 warships jumped into the Proxima system where humanity had established mining colonies. The attack was textbook perfect. Surprise assault, overwhelming firepower, strategic targeting of communication arrays. Within 2 hours, the colonies were isolated and defenseless. Drakthar waited for the surrender signal. It didn't come. Instead, a single human ship dropped out of FTL right in the middle of his formation. Not a battleship. Not even a proper military cruiser. A modified cargo hauler called the Endurance, captained by someone named Rachel Torres. The human ship's communication channel crackled to life. ZHK vessels, this is Captain Torres of the Endurance. You have attacked civilian populations without provocation. Stand down immediately or face consequences. Drakthar laughed. 1 ship against 3? These humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. He gave the order to destroy them. What happened next would haunt him for the rest of his life. The Endurance didn't run. It didn't try to fight head-on either. Instead, it moved in ways ZHK ships couldn't predict. Not faster. Not more agile. Just different. Every time his gunners locked on, the human ship was already somewhere else. Not because it was quicker, but because it seemed to anticipate their moves before they made them. An hour into the engagement, Drakthar realized the human wasn't trying to win. She was stalling. Buying time. Learning their patterns. Commander, the human ship has tagged us, his tactical officer reported. They're tracking our drive signatures. That was impossible. Drive signature tracking required sustained sensor contact for days, not hours. Drakthar ordered his fleet to jump away. Standard ambush predator tactics. Disengage, relocate, strike from a new angle. They jumped to a neighboring system. The Endurance followed 6 hours later. Not through luck. Through tracking. Drakthar felt the first whisper of unease. He ordered another jump. Then another. Each time, the human ship appeared within a day, sometimes less. It was like trying to hide from something that could smell your trail no matter where you went. How are they doing this? He demanded. His science officer pulled up the data with trembling claws. They're not guessing, Commander. They're tracking. Following. Hunting us. Hunting. The word hit Drakthar like a physical blow. The ZHK were the hunters. Always had been. This reversal was unnatural. Wrong. He tried everything. Fake jump coordinates. Splitting his fleet. Doubling back. Nothing worked. The Endurance kept coming. And it wasn't alone anymore. More human ships joined the pursuit. Small ones, fast ones, each taking turns tracking the ZHK fleet. When one had to refuel, another took its place. They weren't fighting like military strategists. They were hunting like wolves. Pack tactics. Persistence. Endurance. 3 weeks into the chase, Draktar's fleet was exhausted. His crews were sleep-deprived and jumpy. Resource supplies ran low. They hadn't been able to properly resupply because every time they stopped, the humans appeared. Morale collapsed. These weren't the quick, decisive strikes the ZHK were known for. This was a grinding, relentless pursuit that went against every tactical doctrine they had. "Commander, we need to return home," his first officer said quietly. "The crew is breaking down. We're burning through fuel reserves. If we continue, we won't have enough to make it back." Draktar stared at the tactical display. 7 human ships now surrounded his position, maintaining perfect formation just outside weapons range. Not attacking. Just watching. Waiting. Like predators circling wounded prey. The humans opened a channel. Captain Torres appeared on screen. She looked tired but determined. Not angry. Not afraid. Just resolute. "Commander Draktar, you've led us on quite a chase," she said. "We've gotten to know each other pretty well these past weeks. Your tactics, your patterns, your weaknesses. I could list them if you'd like. Or you could accept that you made a mistake coming to our space, and we could end this without more bloodshed. You dare threaten the ZHK Empire?" Draktar snarled, trying to sound intimidating despite his situation. Torres shook her head. "Not threatening. Explaining. See, you came to our home looking for easy prey. That was your first mistake. We don't fight like you do. We don't ambush and disappear. We're persistence hunters, Commander. We don't need to be faster or stronger. We just need to never give up. And we don't." She leaned forward slightly. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to limp back to your territory with your ships barely running. You're going to tell your empire exactly what happened here. And you're going to explain that humans aren't prey. We're not even competition. We're something you've never encountered before. We're apex predators who evolved by literally running our prey to death. And we brought that same energy to space." Draktar wanted to argue. Wanted to order one final attack. But his tactical officer was right. They were beaten. Not by superior firepower. Not by better technology. By sheer, relentless determination. He cut the channel and ordered the retreat. The Endurance and its escort ships followed them all the way to ZHK space. Not attacking. Just escorting. Making sure they left. The message was clear. You came to our home. We walked you back to yours. Remember this. When Draktar finally limped into his home station, he was met by High Command demanding explanations. How did 3 warships fail to subdue primitive colonists? How did they get chased across 6 systems by cargo haulers? Draktar's report was simple and honest. We encountered something we didn't expect. A species more predatory than us. Not through strength. Through endurance. The ZHK hunt with speed and surprise. Humans hunt with time and determination. We are ambush predators. They are persistence hunters. And in a long chase, persistence always wins. He paused, remembering Captain Torres's tired but unwavering expression. We are not the apex predators we believed ourselves to be. And we need to accept that before we make the mistake of challenging humanity again. The High Command wanted to dismiss his report as cowardice. But then other reports came in. From other ZHK commanders who tested human defenses. All telling similar stories. Humans who didn't know when to quit. Who kept coming no matter how many times you knocked them down. Who turned warfare into a marathon rather than a sprint. The ZHK Empire quietly updated their territorial maps. Human space was marked with a new designation. Not hostile or avoid. Just a simple warning that made every ZHK commander think twice. Persistence hunters. Do not engage unless prepared for extended campaign. Commander Draktar kept one image from his chase on his command screen. The Endurance, battered and scarred but still flying, matching his fleet's course day after day. A reminder that being the biggest or fastest predator didn't matter. What mattered was being willing to never, ever stop. Humans understood that lesson in their bones. The ZHK had just learned it the hard way. 6 months after the ZHK incident, the Galactic Council convened for humanity's final membership vote. The chamber was packed. Representatives from every major civilization attended, either in person or through holographic projection. This wasn't just another routine admission. This was history. The debate lasted 3 days. Some species argued humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too comfortable with violence. Others countered that humanity had shown remarkable restraint during the ZHK conflict. They could have destroyed the fleet. Instead, they'd simply escorted them home. That showed wisdom, not just strength. Agent Krill stood at the podium during the final session, her antennae steady now despite the attention of billions watching across the galaxy. She'd spent more time studying humans than anyone else in the council. Her opinion carried weight. I was terrified of humans when I first went to Earth, she admitted. Everything about them screamed danger. Their planet, their biology, their customs. I filed reports recommending extreme caution. Perhaps even quarantine. She paused, letting her words settle. But I was wrong. Not about them being dangerous. They absolutely are. I was wrong about what that danger means. Humans are apex predators who developed empathy. Survivors who built communities. Warriors who write poetry. They shouldn't exist according to our understanding of evolution. Predators are supposed to be solitary, aggressive, territorial. Humans are all of those things and none of those things simultaneously. The chamber was silent. Krill continued. They invited me to their meals. Showed me their families. Shared their art and music and stories. They knew I was studying them, reporting on them, and they welcomed me anyway. That's not the behavior of a dangerous species. That's the behavior of a confident one. A mature one. One ready to join us. The vote was called. 247 species in favor. 38 against. Humanity was officially welcomed into the Galactic Council under a new classification, Adaptive Apex Survivor. A category created specifically for them. The celebration was held on the Council Station, a massive structure orbiting a neutral star. Every species sent representatives. Humans arrived in force, excited and slightly overwhelmed by the enormity of it all. And they brought food. The diplomatic quarter had been transformed. Where there used to be a row of bland administrative offices, a new establishment now stood. Terra Firma, the sign read in multiple languages. Earth's first interstellar restaurant. Jake Miller, the engineer from First Contact, had somehow ended up running it. When asked how a maintenance technician became a chef, he just shrugged. Turns out the galaxy was really curious about human food. I knew how to cook. Seemed like a natural fit. The restaurant was packed opening night. Aliens who'd been terrified of human cuisine 6 months ago now waited in line for tables. Jake and his team had worked with xenobiologists to create modified versions of Earth dishes that were safe for different species. Not quite authentic, but close enough to give everyone the experience. Ambassador Quillix was one of the first customers. He'd requested a table weeks in advance. The Rendarian diplomat who'd nearly fainted at his first human barbecue now confidently studied a menu featuring burgers, tacos, pasta, and stir-fry. Jake came out personally to greet him. Ambassador. Good to see you again. Feeling brave tonight? Quillix's translator caught the teasing tone. He clicked his mandibles in what humans had learned was a Rendarian smile. I think I'm ready. What do you recommend for a first-timer? Let's start simple. How about a burger? Modified, of course. Plant-based protein that tastes similar to beef, but nothing that'll upset your system. Comes with the full experience though. Bun, cheese substitute, vegetables, special sauce. The works. 20 minutes later, Quillix stared at the plate in front of him. The burger looked almost exactly like the ones he'd seen the Johnson family eating. His hands trembled slightly as he picked it up. Memories of that first dinner flashed through his mind. The blood. The panic. The fear. But this was different. This was a choice. A bridge between cultures. An act of trust. He took a bite. Chewed slowly. His eyes widened. This is incredible, he said, genuinely shocked. It actually tastes good. Really good. Jake grinned. That's the human secret. We figured out how to make food that's not just fuel. It's pleasure. Experience. Memory. Every meal is an opportunity to create something meaningful. Word spread fast. Within weeks, Terra Firma became the most popular spot on the station. Aliens who'd never considered eating anything resembling meat found themselves enjoying Jake's creations. The experience was safe but thrilling. Like watching a scary movie where you knew nothing could actually hurt you. But Jake's restaurant was just the beginning. Humans were integrating into galactic society in unexpected ways. A former Marine named Tyler started teaching hand-to-hand combat courses that became wildly popular. Turns out, species who'd never had to fight found human defensive techniques fascinating and practical. A teacher named Jennifer opened a school for alien children whose parents worked on the station. She taught Earth history, basic science, and something she called creative problem solving. Her methods were unconventional by galactic standards. She encouraged students to question, explore, and make mistakes. Most alien education systems focused on memorization and following established protocols. Jennifer taught her students to think like humans. To find solutions nobody had considered before. Captain Rachel Torres received a formal commendation from the Galactic Defense Council. They wanted to study human tactical approaches. The persistence hunting methodology. The pack coordination. The psychological warfare of simply never giving up. Rachel ended up consulting on defensive strategies for 3 different species. Even the ZHK sent a representative. Not Commander Drakthar, he'd retired after the incident. But a younger officer named Kresh, who approached Rachel at a diplomatic function with obvious nervousness. "Captain Torres, I wanted to meet you personally," Kresh said, his translator making his clicking language understandable. "Your pursuit of Commander Drakthar is studied in our military academies now. As an example of tactics we never considered." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "Studied as what? A warning?" "As innovation," Kresh replied. "We thought we understood warfare. You showed us we'd only understood one type. The ZHK Empire respects strength. You proved humans have strength we didn't recognize. We'd like to learn from that. If you're willing to teach." Within a year, the council station felt different. More dynamic. More creative. The other species had been cooperating for thousands of years, developing stable, predictable systems. Humans brought chaos, but good chaos. New ideas. Different perspectives. Solutions that shouldn't work but somehow did. Agent Krill updated Earth's file one final time before retiring. She'd spent 18 months studying humanity and had finally figured out how to describe them. Her final entry was simple. Humans are what happens when a death world produces sentient life. They're dangerous because they had to be. They're kind because they chose to be. They turned predation into art, survival into community, and violence into last resort. They eat food that could kill other species and call it delicious. They keep predators as pets. They run toward danger instead of away from it. They should terrify us. Instead, they invite us to dinner. She added one more line. The galaxy is better with them in it. Even if they do insist on serving hamburgers at diplomatic functions. On the station, Captain Vexthara sat across from Jake at terra firma, attempting her 3rd visit to the restaurant. She'd started with the safest options. Tonight she was trying the house special. A full burger. Modified for her biology, but still recognizably human food. She took a bite. Closed her eyes. Took another. When she opened them, Jake was watching with that characteristic human smile. Not predatory. Just genuinely happy to share something he loved. "You know what the strangest part is?" Vexthara said. 6 months ago, the idea of eating this would have horrified me. Now I understand. This isn't about food. It's about connection. Trust. Sharing experiences across impossible differences. Jake raised his glass. "Welcome to being human. We're scary, yeah. But we also know how to throw one hell of a dinner party. And honestly, that might be our real superpower. Not the hunting or the endurance or the refusal to quit. It's that we always make room at the table for one more." Around them, the restaurant buzzed with conversation. Dozens of species, sharing meals, sharing stories, sharing a space that shouldn't exist. A restaurant serving predator food to prey species who'd learned to trust the predators enough to try it. The age of humanity in the stars had truly begun. One meal, one friendship, one small act of sharing at a time. And somehow, that felt exactly right.